Peace to the gods. In this reading, I will tell you about the 7 deadly sins that you will continue to face in your spiritual evolution. Every man has these energies. Every man has a dominate energy that is usually faces at any given moment in time. My goal is to give awareness of this energy so you know now what you are facing behind the scenes. All men faces a battle of frequencies and energies. But does one know what ought that sin or sensation be? Let's address each of them all: pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, avarice, gluttony, and finally lust. Let's begin with identifying lust. Lust is an intense and uncontrolled desire, often directed towards physical or sensual pleasures. It's a powerful force that can cloud judgment, derail moral integrity, and lead one down a path of destruction. In its energy, lust is consuming, relentless, and focused on immediate gratification. It can overshadow reason and spiritual wisdom, creating a chasm between the seeker and their higher self. One of the most poignant stories that revolves around lust is that of King David and Bathsheba, found in the 2nd book of Samuel, chapters 11 and 12 in the Bible. This tale highlights the consuming and destructive nature of lust and its far-reaching consequences. King David, a man after God's own heart, succumbed to the sin of lust. While his army was at war, David remained in Jerusalem. One evening, as he walked on the roof of his palace, he witnessed a beautiful woman bathing. Consumed by desire, David inquired about her and learned that she was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, one of his loyal soldiers. Despite knowing her marital status, David's lust overpowered him. He summoned Bathsheba to his palace and lay with her, resulting in her becoming pregnant. To cover his sin, David first attempted to deceive Uriah by bringing him back from the battlefield, hoping he would lie with his wife and believe the child to be his. But Uriah, out of a sense of duty, refused to enjoy the comforts of home while his comrades were still at war. Now, let's speak on gluttony. Gluttony, in its essence, represents the overindulgence and overconsumption that leads to physical, emotional, and spiritual depletion. It embodies a disconnection from the divine harmony, where one seeks satisfaction in earthly pleasures rather than in the Creator or higher spiritual pursuits. Consider the biblical story of Esau and Jacob in the book of Genesis. Esau, the elder brother and a hunter, returned one day famished and exhausted. His younger brother, Jacob, had prepared a lentil stew. Driven by his hunger, Esau impulsively traded his birthright for a mere bowl of stew, exclaiming, "I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Genesis 25, 29, 34. In Buddhist teachings, the story of the hungry ghosts, or pretas, resonates with the concept of gluttony. Hungry ghosts are depicted with huge bellies and tiny mouths, forever longing to eat, but never able to sate their hunger. This imagery symbolizes the endless cycle of desire and the suffering that comes from an over-attachment to sensory pleasures. Their gluttony for food is a metaphor for the insatiable desires that can drive human behavior and lead to suffering. Now, greed. Ah, dear child of light, the sin of greed, or avarice, as it is known, has long plagued the hearts of humanity, casting shadows over their souls and leading them astray from the path of righteousness. Greed is the insatiable desire for wealth, possessions, and power, often at the expense of others and one's own moral integrity. Let me recount a tale imbued with the essence of this destructive vice, drawn from both ancient texts and annals of wisdom bestowed upon humanity. Once upon a time, in the annals of Greek mythology, there lived a king named Midas. Midas was a man of great wealth and power, yet his heart was consumed by an insatiable longing for more. His greed knew no bounds, and he fervently prayed to the gods to grant him the ability to turn everything he touched into gold. One day, the god Dionysus, moved by Midas's unyielding desire, granted him the fabled golden touch. At first, Midas reveled in his newfound power, turning objects, trees, and stones into shimmering gold. His heart was filled with an exultant joy, believing that his dreams had finally come true. Yet, as the days passed, the king began to realize the true nature of his blessing. Driven by greed, he turned to consume a piece of bread, only to find it transforms into hard gold in his grasp. His wine turned to liquid gold, preventing him from quenching his thirst. The final blow came when his beloved daughter, rushing to embrace him, was turned into a lifeless golden statue at his touch. In his pursuit of ever greater riches, Midas had sacrificed the very essence of life and love. Desperate and distraught, Midas pleaded with Dionysus to take away the curse. The god, having seen the tragic consequences of Midas's avarice, took pity on him and instructed him to wash his hands in the river Pactolus to cleanse himself of the golden touch. Upon doing so, Midas was freed from his curse, and the river's sands turned to gold. Humbled and penitent, he realized the folly of his greed and the true value of life's simple, enduring treasures. Now, I speak of sloth. Sloth is more than mere laziness. It is the insidious apathy that causes the soul to wither. It is the neglect of duty, the refusal to toil in the vineyard of one's existence. Sloth is a deadly sin, for it robs us of potential and traps the soul in a state of inertia, denying the divine spark within us to illuminate our path. In the ancient texts of the Talmud, Asmodeus is known as the Prince of Sloth. He seeks to impede man's progress, both spiritually and physically, by instilling a languid spirit within them. The story goes that King Solomon, in his quest to build the magnificent temple for the Most High, required a certain powerful demon to assist him. Asmodeus was summoned, and through the guidance of his wisdom, Solomon managed to control the demon. But the nature of Asmodeus was to embody the very essence of sloth. Though bound by the wisdom of Solomon, Asmodeus sought to idle away his duties, subtly influencing those around him to be lax and inattentive to their tasks. Solomon, wise as he was, knew that allowing sloth to fester would lead to ruin. He imposed strict guidelines and constant vigilance to prevent Asmodeus from spreading his indolent ways. Through this constant battle, King Solomon's wisdom prevailed, proving that only through diligence, vigilance, and the constant pursuit of purpose can one overcome the detrimental force of sloth. Wrath, or anger per se. Wrath, or anger, is the intense and often uncontrollable feeling of fury and antagonism. Its power lies in its potential to destroy and to harm both the one who harbors it and those upon whom it is unleashed. In the beginning, Eve bore 2 sons, Cain and Abel. Cain was a tiller of the soil, while Abel was a keeper of sheep. As time went by, both offered sacrifices to the Most High, Cain from the fruits of his labor and Abel from the firstlings of his flock. The Creator gazed favorably upon Abel's offering, yet turned away from Cain's. This act ignited a spark of wrath within Cain, a fire that quickly consumed his soul. Instead of seeking to understand or to improve himself, Cain allowed his anger to fester and grow. The Creator cautioned him, saying, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. Genesis 4:6-7. But Cain, overwhelmed by his wrath, did not heed this warning. In his fury and jealousy, he lured Abel out into the field and there committed the first murder, slaying his own brother. And Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Genesis 4:9. The blood of Abel cried out from the ground, and as a result, Cain was cursed and mocked, condemned to wander the earth as a fugitive and a vagabond. Let us speak on envy. Emotion that gnaws at the spirit and corrodes the soul. Envy is the desire for others' traits, status, abilities, or situation. It arises from the belief that we lack something others possess and feel resentful over their perceived advantage. From the perspective of the Taoist philosophy, envy disrupts the natural flow of contentment and harmony within a person. The Tao Te Ching, attributed to Lao Tzu, advises, when you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. Chapter 8. Envy, thus, is a departure from the path of simplicity and contentment laid out by the Tao. Now the most powerful of the sins, pride. Pride, that most insidious of sins, often cloaked in the guise of self-righteousness or merit. Its dominion over the soul can be swift and all-consuming, for pride hardens the heart and blinds the mind to higher truths. In many traditions and sacred texts, pride is depicted as the root of all other sins, for it elevates the self to a place that should be reserved for the Creator alone. Pride, the fall of Lucifer. Among the annals of spirituality and myth, perhaps the most poignant tale of pride is that of Lucifer, whose story is illuminated within various religious traditions. Once the most radiant of all angels, often called the morning star or light bringer, Lucifer's pride marked his downfall. Consumed by his own beauty and power, Lucifer sought to exalt his throne above that of the Most High. Isaiah 14:12. 15 recounts the lamentation. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. Lucifer's pride led him to rebel against the Creator, resulting in his expulsion from the heavenly realms. Cast down to earth, he became known as Satan, a figure that personifies opposition and temptation, forever marked by his refusal to submit to a higher divine will. The moral of this ancient tale, Lightbringer, lies in the transformative understanding that pride fosters separation from others, from the Creator, and from one's truest self. In contrast, humility opens one to divine grace, fostering a spirit of unity and love. Remember the teachings of Yahshua in the Gospel of Matthew. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Matthew 23:12. Thus, strive to replace pride with humility, not in self-depreciation, but in a true recognition of our place within the grand tapestry of the Creator.